Years ago at the Hall of Justice, the League met to vote in a new member.
While we know his past is dark, there is little denying the good he has done since beginning to be Superman. Even if he's only working toward a public facade, perhaps allowing him the space to grow among us will encourage more than a change of face. My vote is to allow Lex Luthor into the Justice League.
Thank you, Diana. I hope to show that I'm more than just a reformed man, but a true hero.
Well, I respect the transparency of this voting process, despite how awkward it might make things, but it's a no from me. I'm glad to see you're out there doing good, Mr. Luthor, but honestly, I've got a kid to help bring up. A kid who wants to join this league one day, and I think the Justice League needs to have heroes who are beyond doubt on it.
That's unfortunate to hear, Flash. I hope the kid can live up to your standards someday.
There's little doubt about your level of professionalism and your effectiveness as a hero. This league could use more measured minds and experienced hands. I had some wild years too, but I understand moving beyond them. I vote yes.
Thank you. I hope our future partnership will be as effective as you wish.
Well, I'm a no. I gotta go with my gut, and I'm sorry, but I just don't trust you after all the stuff Karate Kid over here has said you're tied up in.
Understandable. I hope the Guardians of Oa pick other lanterns who put as much thought into their judgments as you.
No.
Care to explain why?
No.
I remain undecided, and the arguments my fellow Leaguers have put forward have only served to increase my division.
You can read minds, correct? But I refrain from entering mine out of etiquette. Please, if it will convince you either way, enter my mind. Look at my hopes for the future of humanity, and use that to decide if I belong with you on the League.
I can see that your hope for this world is great. You have my vote.
We are at a tie. The deciding vote comes down to you, old friend. You have fought against this man for years, but he stands here now, his future in your hands.
I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me.
I think everyone deserves a second chance. If Lex says he's one of the good guys now, I'll give him a shot. Welcome to the team, buddy.
I believe in second chances. That's why we're here.
In the labs of LexCorp, Superboy was being put through his paces, this time more rigorously than ever. His father had faster-than-light homing lasers on the walls, gravity simulators that changed randomly to throw him off balance, drones based on the strongest of supervillains, mimicking their powers and strengths. Before, it had taken all of Gohan's concentration to conquer these challenges, but he always found a way to ace the tests, every time. Now, Gohan wasn't even paying attention. His body was going through the motions, unable to focus on any of these attacks.
Show me you're worth the effort. Months gone on some farm. Prove to me you weren't just slacking off.
I'm trying my best, Father. I'm sorry.
Each time he went for a punch, he saw Cassandra staring back at him in terror. The new power he had seemed harmless, and that terrified him. Luthor ended the simulation, and an unharmed Gohan hung his head in shame.
I think I understand what this is.
It's just too much. I need to get used to the simulators again, that's all.
Don't lie to me, son. I know that look. You're bored.
What? No! I couldn't even imagine something so complex and well-designed.
They're boring to me. You remind me so much of myself now. The view from the top is isolating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I've been harsh, too. Cruel, even. Haven't I?
Father, no. No, you're a hero.
I despise that word. It's unbecoming of you now. No. We can be honest with each other. For all the nonsense Kakarot taught you, it seems spending time amongst the common folk has shown you just how superior you really are. Smallville tends to have that effect on us. I just want to say, and I mean this, truly, I love you, son. You're the only person in the world like me, and that's going to be even more important going forward.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Vice President Mars wishes to speak to you about today's event.
Ah, she's very eager for that one. Fine. Superboy, you have full control of the lab for today. I won't be long.
Halfway across Metropolis, Lois Lane entered the world's strongest dojo. She was shocked to see Cassandra in her full Batgirl costume instructing the room, using poor Jenny as a demonstration dummy.
Ow! You said you'd go easy on me.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
The deal's getting worse all the time.
The large class turned to stare at Lois, who smiled and asked where she could find Kakarot. Cassandra and Jenny looked back at each other, their expressions turning more solemn. Not out of sadness. They had learned how to be strong for him, but out of not wanting another friend to see their hero brought down so low. In the basement of the dojo, the dull thuds of a heavy bag being hit echoed throughout the room. Lois recognized the sound, the remnants of it at least, but the pace of it was different. Hurt, damaged, broken. As she went further down the stairs, she saw Kakarot training, as always. But this time, not the incredible feats of thumb push-ups and max speed flurries. Just a sick man, leaning against the bag on shaky feet.
Oh, Kakarot, what did you do?
Huh? Oh, hey Lois. Long time no see.
Hey, Slugger. What are you doing down here? You get a lot more cash for this place if they saw your goofy mug around.
Nah, I don't want to get in anybody's way. I ain't been feeling so good.
Then why are you even up, you idiot? God, you should be strapped to a table with as many machines as possible fixing you.
Lois.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snapped. That was unfair. I'm the one who hasn't been to see you. You walked into the planet months ago, and I should have known. Sub-reporter. I can't even tell if my best friend is about to have a heart attack.
I gotta keep fighting, Lois. That's all it is. I ain't gonna let this beat me lying down. Then I'd rather be dead.
You're a stubborn son of a bitch, you know that? Well, if you need to keep moving, then I think I could use your help to look into a lead. Would just say, Spiky, Lois Lane's pal Kakarot Kent helps the Daily Planet save the day?
Anytime. What are you working on and who do I have to fight?
You'll get us there. I'll get us around.
Ah, even Batman wasn't that spooky. Okay, let's do this. A reporter, a ninja, and a martial artist break into the White House. Sounds like a hell of a story.
Kakarot smirked and focused his senses. He could feel remnants of Gohan's ki at the White House. The martial artist placed a hand on his heart and reached out with his other hand to help guide Lois and Cassandra through the Violet Rift. They stepped into the Oval Office seconds later. Lois looked around, impressed. She'd expected it to take a lot more work to get here. But now that they were in the room, her reporter's instincts kicked in and she began to search the place with an unbelievable attention to detail. Everything she touched and moved, she was sure to place back precisely as it was left. Cassandra had moved to one of the doors to stand guard, but had a hard time focusing as she was so impressed with the sleuthing skills of the reporter. Even Bruce didn't work as quickly as Miss Lane.
Hello, you sexy little nugget of truth.
The reporter pulled a small electronic device out of the president's desk. There was an image of the Joker on it. Lois hit play, and the truth came out.
I need you to do what you do best. Be the wrench in the gears. Cause some chaos, and stop the Legion of Doom.
Oh, now that sounds like fun. I'm in. But I will need something. From what you've told me, this goes bigger than my humble skills can handle.
What do you need?
Can a neighbor borrow a cup of highly advanced nana?
At first, only Lois was watching the message, but as the conversation unfolded, Kakarot and Cassandra were drawn in, until all three were staring at the screen in disgust. Lex Luthor was behind the last 2 years of attacks on the Justice League and the world at large. Lois's mind began to connect the dots, but would have to wait. Kakarot felt his heart sink from the emotional blow. The rage at this betrayal sparked a Super Saiyan power within him. But it was too raw, too uncontrolled, and Kakarot collapsed into a fit of coughs on the floor. His heart couldn't handle this anymore. Immediately, the White House staff was alerted and began to knock on the locked door. Kakarot had been their way into the Oval Office, but his health was growing worse with every passing second. He was in no condition to get them out, and with the volume of his coughs, there was no way Cassandra would be able to sneak him away.
You got a teleporter in that utility belt?
I'm here to help.
Leo Quintum had just teleported into the room without explanation. As the scientist teleported away with Kakarot and Batgirl, he made a quick stop so that Lois could make her own way back. The reporter walked out of Washington with the most damning piece of evidence in the world. Oracle, Dick, and Diana were going over notes in the Batcave, Alfred having prepared hot cocoa for everyone to help pass the time. They needed to be a step ahead of the next strike if they were to learn from the mistakes of Joker's last laugh. Every Leaguer was now working in pairs to prevent ambush. They'd called in all reserves and extended the roster exponentially. In particular, they were paired up to cover for each other's weaknesses. Diana, especially, was no longer allowing Vegeta to act on his own. She'd returned to monitoring him, and their relationship had become much more strained as a result. Vegeta, however, was more focused on the small child, attempting to one-up him in a game of achievement listing.
A prince of a dead race. Laughable.
A boy dressed as a bird. Pathetic.
It's a literary reference to a famous myth, you baboon.
I am a famous myth.
I've never heard of a Super Saiyan until your kind showed up and wouldn't shut up about it. Lacks the class of the Royal Al Ghul legacy.
Please, the Vegeta line conquered planets. You're a sidekick in a cave.
Yes, I am. I rejected that destiny. A pity you're still bound by yours.
Damian's always been real good with animals. Do you think you could keep him?
You are a delight, Richard. Thank you. I'm afraid I often get too wrapped up in the complications of the situation. It is nice to be reminded that a child can humble anyone.
Wonder Woman was interrupted by a bat flying around her head and squeaking. The Amazon held out her arm and allowed the bat to hang from her hand as it continued to squeal.
Oh my! Thank you for getting this to me with such haste!
Is she talking to the bat? Why is she talking to the bat?
I have no idea.
I need you to call Lois Lane for me right away.
Good to see you, Diana. Glad to see the little bird I told got the message to you.
Yes, well, it had to get relayed between a dolphin, a crocodile, and a bat, but yes, the animals told me you had an urgent need.
Lois explained her revelation. At first, the gathered heroes were confused, Dick being the most perplexed of all, wondering what Lex would have to gain by organizing all of these supervillains against the Justice League. And then, Lois broke it all down for him.
The attack on Quintum Lunar's lab was an attempt to undermine Leo's vision for humanity. Lex didn't want competition in that department. The attack in Gotham undermined Wayne Enterprises, which was already unstable with Bruce's disappearance. The fight in Kandaquis cemented Luthor's meta-human exclusion policy. The attack on the White House was a distraction to throw everyone off his scent and make it seem he was just as much under threat. But he knew it was coming all along. Even Dr. Psycho's plot was all a distraction to keep the public's and the Justice League's attention away from the root of all these attacks. And the Joker's last laugh was his attempt at keeping the supervillains from succeeding further than he wanted them to.
This is far beyond any of my expectations. I've been such a fool.
Ridiculous. No man could plan this long with so many variables. I think this Lane woman has lost all sense of reason.
Young man, I'd advise you to shut up and let the women talk.
Vegeta did not seek to provoke the butler any further.
So, what's our next move? Do we confront him head on, keep this to ourselves until we get more solid case?
I believe truth is our best option.
Suddenly, Lois's screen began to distort, the feed cut, and was replaced with a shadowy figure. Damian and Dick were the ones in the room who instantly knew who was now on the call.
I wish to speak to my son, circus boy.
You don't get to speak to him. You get off this line right now.
I would have spared you on account of Damian's fondness of your lot. However, it seems my son will require more dramatic scolding. Your doom is upon you, and the New World Order is going to begin.
Big talk. Your plan's exposed. Without the element of surprise, you're nothing before me.
Exposed? My plan began 5 minutes ago. There's no stopping it now.
The transmission cut out, and suddenly, alarms began to blare in the Batcave. The Hall of Justice was under attack. Dick and Damian got into the Bat Rocket, while Wonder Woman and Vegeta flew towards the largest battle the League had ever faced, already underway. The Hall of Justice shattered into rubble and blood from the full power of Adam's initial attack. Chaos and confusion reigned as the heroes were completely off balance and already damaged from an attack they had no way to predict. Perfect targets for the Reverse Flash. Form moved at subluminal speeds and threw millions of blows towards dazed Leaguers, the likes of Plastic Man and Dr. Fate taken out of commission before they had a chance to prepare themselves. With a pulled back fist, Reverse Flash smiled with glee, ready to finish Wally West in one blow. But the heroes had their first bit of luck, because Wally had been training with a sailor. He dropped to the ground and held up his body with his arms, powerfully kicking Thorn in the chest. Then, the Flash put a super speed spin on the move, rapidly repeating the blow millions of times over in an instant. After seconds that felt like hours, Wally let up just long enough to let Thorn fall to the ground before standing over him and throwing a barrage of lightning bolts. But just as it looked like the Speedster was giving the Justice League the time they needed to regroup, he was snatched off the ground by Black Adam.
I recognize that ferocity. You've been learning from the Prince.
With Wally in the air now and Thorn out of commission for the moment, the remaining heroes and villains were left to battle amongst themselves. Zatada's magic alleviated the chaos of the battlefield by turning it on the Legion themselves. But it didn't last long, as the Ultra-Humanite was able to catch her off guard and use her language against her, taking her out of the fight early. Green Arrow didn't let the tables stay turned against the League, and fired pinpoint accurate shots to the nerves of the Legion forces, taking out the Turtle and making him drop to the floor, unconscious. One magic user of the Legion didn't account for the mind of Mr. Terrific, and Clarion the Witch Boy was cursed with the sting of defeat. In the skies above, angels themselves ripped through the heavens as Zoriel waged battle against the might of Magog. Heavy hitters were well within the Legion's plans. Not even Blue Beetle could stand up to the strategic machinations of Bane. A green aura pierced through the white marble, and Hal Jordan got to his feet. He was caught off guard once before, and paid for it with his life. That would never happen again.
Trying to catch me with my pants down? I think too fast for that now. You all should have tried this sooner. A straight fight is all I needed.
We're the goddamn Justice League!
Hal Jordan's fist was glowing with raw will, and he shot forward like a jet right into the gut of Gorilla Grodd, launching him across the street and knocking him out cold.
Who's next?
Superman and Superboy were well aware of the situation now, It was on every channel. The Hall of Justice was destroyed, and the League was embroiled in war, larger than any in human history. This was the first meta-human war, and it just got hot.
Father, are you going to help them?
It's as I feared. The superpowered and aliens are going to destroy this entire planet in their battle. Each one of them might as well be a walking nuke. I'm going to end this. I need you to stay here.
Luthor shut off the feed and enabled the lockdown procedure of the lab. Only he had the codes to get in and out. For all intents and purposes, Superboy was now a prisoner.
But isn't this what you trained me for? Isn't this what you made me for? To save them?
I made you to save humanity, Superboy. Your power is even more dangerous than any other in that battle. Can you keep controlling chaos like that?
No, sir. I can't.
This will be fine. When it's all over, we'll talk. About everything. Remember that, son. You're the future. And this is a job for Superman.
Mr. Freeze's expression changed into pure terror as the wrath of the Queen of Atlantis rained down upon him. The Fiend's only ice-based attacks were the equivalent of giving her more ammo. With one down, she turned her attention to another of the cold-based villains of the Legion. That seemed to be a common theme for some reason.
You have encountered the worst possible foe, villain.
You don't say, Toots.
Mera launched a wave of water tendrils at the captain, but to her surprise, they froze not only in composition, but in their velocity, stopping to a halt instantaneously. She tried to control them, but couldn't get them to move. As a result, the ice flowed back from the water to her hands, as the cold field expanded in size, stopping her movements at an atomic level.
Common mistake. I don't work like the other guys. Apologies to your majesty.
As Snart took a swig from this flask, a boot slammed into his face, breaking his glasses and taking him out of the fight in one swift motion. Lady Shiva had entered the battlefield and unfroze Mera from her icy trap.
You have my thanks. I did not expect you, of all people, to come to my—
Shiva struck Mera with a nerve blow to the neck, taking out her arm and causing the Queen to hastily raise what guard she could.
Whose side are you on?
Mine. I heard about the greatest fight the world has ever seen. How could I not join in the fun?
The royal pair raced across the country to aid in the fight. The Saiyan prince began to get a little excited.
So after all the tricks, it's finally coming down to a real battle.
Luthor wants a fight. I'll not play into what he expects of us. I'm through being manipulated by him.
Wonder Woman increased her speed, suddenly moving far faster than Vegeta. The Saiyan prince was shocked, since he'd only ever seen her this mad at himself. He quickly turned Super Saiyan and rushed to catch up. The Atom was leaping from villain to villain, but he was plucked from midair by forces outside of his control. Cersei held the hero in her magical grip, and decided it would be amusing to see an atom-sized pig, transforming him and taking him out of the fight.
Now then, where is tall, dark, and Martian? Ah, there you are, darling. How's the single life treating you?
Martian Manhunter was being blasted on two fronts by Red Volcano, Heatwave, and Firefly. Their firepower was on an entirely new tier than usual, and Ja'on was helpless against his one weakness. His power was still a threat, and so Cersei aimed to use her magic against the shapeshifter, to hold him in one form and take out this heavy hitter.
How about I reveal the beast inside of you? That would be an interesting form to give you. Oh, a hawk even? Your corpses can match. How cute!
Is this what you did to her? When you cowards found her in the rain? Is this what you did to my wife?
Ja'on's power skyrocketed at the thought of Kendra, of their child, of all the innocents lost in this senseless conflict. He is one of the most powerful beings in the universe, and he would not stand to be vanquished by these ants. The form of Martian Manhunter was wrapped in flames, and from it arose a gigantic green dragon. In one quick motion, it swallowed Red Volcano whole and smacked Heatwave and Firefly away with a tail swipe.
You can't be doing this! The fire should stop you!
You wanted to transform me into a monster? Fine! Here's your fire!
The flame burst from the dragon's mouth, engulfing Cersei and any other villains caught in its blaze. The Martian had pushed through the limits of his so-called weakness. At Leo Quintum's lunar lab, Kakarot tried to stand again, but Cassandra pushed him down. Leo was buzzing about the laboratory, preparing all manner of equipment and treatments to try and get Kakarot's vitals under control. But the Saiyan kept trying to leave. He could feel what was happening, and he needed to be down there in the fight, not up here, breathing through a tube.
They need my help!
I can sense them too. They don't. You need help. Let him help.
Hell knocked Black Adam down to the ground, finally freeing Wally to get up some real hitting as he began to circle the globe.
Infinite Mass Punch!
The power behind Flash's blow sent Black Adam flying for what would be miles, if Hal Jordan hadn't made a series of walls for this ancient being to crash through. The homicidal king fell to the ground unconscious. Hal pulled Wally into a headlock and gave him a noogie. Despite years of working together, Hal couldn't resist busting the kid's chops a bit. But their brief moment of triumph was cut off by the sight of Captain Atom falling to the ground as the energy that made him up leaked out of the hole in his back, made by the ancient blade of Talia al Ghul.
Celebrate your small victory. It shall not last. Your core fighters are holding out well indeed, but your army has fallen before us. There remain only 5 of you to stand against our Legion of Doom.
Your plan is doomed to fail. Even if we all die here, it'll be okay so long as we've stopped you.
Hal looked back to his allies. They were tired. They were bloodied. They were on the verge of death. And they were ready to face it head on. The heroes charged at the forces of doom.
It doesn't have to be like that. Justice League, lay down your weapons. This war never had to happen. Talia, you've been lied to. Lex Luthor told you and this Legion that he was going to grant you power, but it's all funneling to him. He and his armies are on their way now. They'll be here to wipe out whoever is left standing. But if the fighting stops, if we stand united in truth, then the world will see. The greatest weapon in the Justice League arsenal is on its way now. Lois Lane will be here right on Luthor's heels with every reporter she can find.
Talia listened intently to the Amazon. She was a fellow woman of great power and deserved her respect. But even that respect was nothing compared to a mother seeing their child for the first time in what felt like forever. Damian had arrived on the battlefield. Her son was now in the crossfire. They locked eyes, the sun of Batman's cold facade fading and revealing the scared little boy underneath. Talia looked at him as a mother, and then looked back at Diana as a leader.
Please, Talia. For Bruce.
In the end, Talia would always serve her better interests, and the only outcomes she could see in this battle were not preferable to one such as her.
No one shall use an Al Ghul for their machinations.
Don't worry. I've used you for all I needed.
Superman was on the scene, and with a switch on his suit, a gigantic domed force field erupted from the ground and surrounded the battlefield. All the heroes and all the villains, unconscious and otherwise, were trapped in a seemingly impenetrable bubble. Lois had arrived at the battle with a procession of news crews at her back, but they were too late, as all light and sound were prevented from leaving Luthor's device. The outside world had no way of knowing just what the hell was going on in there. Inside, Lex floated above the two sides, his presence as Superman invoking fear from the Legion members and hesitation from the Wounded League. Diana and Talia stood firm, glaring at the Man of Steel.
We will not kill each other for you, Lex. You've corrupted enough. Our better natures have won out. For all your schemes, you could never predict how people feel.
Yes, I can. You smug cave woman. Ugh, that feels so good to finally say. All of you, ants, beneath my attention. Think of me now as the man with the boot.
You agreed for an equal partnership, Luthor. We are well accustomed to betrayal, but standing before me and my army, and the Justice League as you are, this is suicide.
Well then, it's a very good thing. I already prepared your doomsday.
The sounds of doom had been growing nearer all year. With every step Lex took, it grew closer, biting at the heels of all that was good and true in this world. That time was over, for all the gods and angels in heaven, and all the champions and villains on earth, were nothing but babes, at the darkness unleashed, rising from the dirt beneath them. With a sound that drew the eyes of every conscious soul in the dome, a masked giant clawed its way from the earth at Luthor's command,
summoning this herald of destruction as his final Ragnarok.
The sound waves alone caused the non-powered members to lose consciousness on the spot. The raw power emanating from this beast was beyond measure. Vegeta's eyes widened. Such strength he should have surely been able to sense. Yet he had felt nothing. This left the prince uneasy. He'd only ever felt that lack of feeling around Darkseid. This beast seemed to command that same level of terror.
Halt, creature! If you can understand me, stand down! I do not wish to fight you. Luthor has used all of us. If he is using you too, then we can stop him together. By Hera!
Doomsday slammed its fist into Wonder Woman's temple, cracking parts of her skull and launching her into the air. Her body slamming against the barrier and falling back down, somehow on her feet. The rest of the Metas turned in complete shock. It was beyond speed. Seeing Wonder Woman, the strongest champion of Earth, tossed aside like nothing would have caused any army to freeze. But the Justice League was better than that. They refused to lose any of her teammates. Never again.
Speed won't save you of your ashes. Big Bang Attack!
The Ascended Saiyan jumped into the fray and fired off an energy blast at the behemoth. With a single hand, it caught and crushed it into particles of ki.
What? My attack?
Get used to it. We take this thing together.
Hal and John fired their respective beams towards the approaching monster. Mara used what water in the area she could grab to its feet, attempting to hold it down from moving anymore. Dick used the onboard systems of the Bat Rocket, its cannons locked and firing all of its energy at one concentrated blast at Doomsday.
Keep firing! Do not let it pass this line! We end it here!
Oh, I think you got his attention. Wonderful.
The Legion of Doom. Cowards till the end. Are you just gonna sit there? Fight!
Dick's words got a few of the Legion who weren't trying to escape to attack Doomsday from behind with their assortment of weapons. It was a display of multicolored power from the strongest the Earth had to offer, but none of it stopped the creature's slow, methodical steps. It was letting out a low roar as it pushed with all of its strength against the beam, walking towards the center where Wonder Woman stood on shaky feet.
Wonder Woman, you must rest. Your people need you in this battle. Recover as they hold off the creature.
Never been hit that hard in my life.
It is a crushing blow to all pride. We move on from defeat.
You don't understand, Talia. I fought gods, dimension-shattering monsters, nightmares beyond all mortal comprehension. That thing, that doomsday Luthor has unleashed on us, he may very well have found something very close to becoming a god. Or worse.
Fall, damn you! Fall!
Vegeta's Gallic gun was now added to the onslaught, and even it only pushed the creature back for a moment, until it seemed to rise in power to match the combined forces of both teams. Wally had been running around the dome at top speed, building as much momentum as he could, harnessing the speed force in its purest form, and with one lunging throw, shot all of that raw power right into the cacophony of beams.
No more of my friends are dying on my watch! You hear me? No more!
This was the one that finally took its ears, and the doomsday creature roared out as the blast exploded all at once. Luthor was shielded, and the dome held the resulting debris, now filled with smoke. Gohan was going over lab equipment in a daze, but he had decided to trust in Luthor. He knew things would work out okay. They didn't need him. They never needed him. He'd always just got in the way. Right now, this was the safest place for him to be. For everyone. They didn't need to see a monster. On Leo's lunar lab, Kakarot's condition had progressed even further. He was struggling to breathe, and his heart rate was off the scale. Something had caught his attention. Something he was sensing caused the Saiyan even more distress than anything he had heard the entire year, and his body was taking the brunt of it. Cass was holding his hand tightly, as the world as she knew it seemed to be disappearing right before her eyes. One by one, the heroes and villains rose to their feet, only to see that their nightmare had only just begun.
No, it can't be. Broly?
I can't believe everything that's happened. I thought Lex had changed.
But if he wants a fight, I'll win no matter what!
Next time on Dragon Ball DC, the world's strongest versus the most powerful man on Earth.